Okay, we are live. Welcome, people of the internet. So, how's everybody doing today?
Good. Now that, this finally works for me. It took seriously like 10 minutes.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I was just not figuring it out.
I was having problems with it too.
It takes a little while, and you think Google would make it totally intuitive, but they don't. We are talking about The Secret Diary of Lizzie Bennet. Did everybody get to read the whole book?
Yes.
Yep, I finished it.
Cool. Allison, were you able to read the book?
Yeah, I finished it too.
Awesome. And then, of course, they have the corresponding videos. Did everybody get a chance to at least see some of them and kind of figure out what was going on?
I watched all of them.
I watched them all a while ago, so for some I might not remember it entirely.
um, think of the book, just really. Hey, sorry, I don't know what happened there.
No problem.
I had to like kill everything. Um, so what did everybody think of the book?
I liked it a lot. I think it meshed well with the videos, and
Mhm.
if you watched all the videos, it gave you a lot of the background information that you didn't really know happened.
Right. What about you, Brittany?
I really enjoyed it. So I read it first. So for me, I was like, oh, the videos fit this book. But I think they both tied together really well. And there were definitely things in the book that were not covered in the videos, which I thought was interesting too, taking something that was already there and established and then even building on the story. That was cool.
Right. I watched the videos first when they were first coming out, and then I read the book. Um, it was kind of cool to go back and see, like, oh, Lizzie was telling the truth when she said, like, her whole life wasn't broadcast online, and that there were things that were going on behind the scenes. Um, so they had a bunch of questions in the back of the book that I thought were really cool for discussion. One of them being that it kind of the comparison between this book and then the original text of Pride and Prejudice. Um, and the question really focuses on like bringing the story to a modern audience and modernizing the setting. So I guess I wonder how you guys think they did in terms of telling the same story, but kind of operating in the confines of a whole different society.
Sorry, I don't know
It's
if
cool.
anybody's
I don't
talking
know who
over
talks first.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Allison, you first.
Okay. Now I already forgot the question. So I think it did a really good job at modernizing it. And I read I like to read some YouTube comments every now and then, and I saw a lot of people that hadn't read the book and were commenting on it. But I think there was a few things that maybe didn't really fit with the story, that how they modernized it maybe. But I think overall it did a really good job.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think they maintained, the essence of the story. All these characters with their built-in prejudices, not realizing that they're kind of inhibiting themselves, I guess, or hindering themselves because of their own stupid, misguided opinions. So I think that was maintained throughout the whole story, and they updated it pretty well because the mom character, in addition to being obsessed with getting her daughters married, she really cared about her daughter's job, which I thought was, that's a great thing to do if you're gonna update the story, because that's how a real mom would be these days. Is you care about her love life, but you also care about her professional life, and she did. So I thought they did that well.
Yeah. Um, what did you guys think of the character of Lydia and how she was portrayed? Because personally, she's my favorite part of the whole series. Because I feel like the book does not portray her the same way that the show does. But I kind of wanted to get your perspective.
Sorry, my dog keeps whining in the background, and
That's okay.
lately she's been finding my shoes, so I was trying to make sure she's not chewing on one of my shoes. Um, yeah, I'd say in Pride and Prejudice, I really disliked Lydia as the character, and so then in this series, I did like her too, and I think they did a really good job telling the story, especially with Wickham,
Mhm.
and I watched some of the Lydia Bennet videos too, and you could really see like the emotional drain that she went through with when she was with them, and I thought that was very interesting, and that part I thought was really modern, and I liked that. And I think her character in this series was a lot better, and you got to just get to know her more, whereas in Pride and Prejudice it's just like she was just one-dimensional and just, I don't know, flirty basically.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so let's see. Is there any fun questions? So one of the questions, my dog is also trying to get my attention, um, is about the Ricky Collins proposal. So I they change it from a true marriage proposal to a business partnership proposal. Um, and I feel like it added some comedic element to it in a way that is not present in the original telling. But why do you think that she turned the job down?
I think it might have been two things: that she didn't really like him. He was annoying to her, and I think I would have probably turned it down too, just because if that's going to be your boss and he annoys you, you have to deal with that every day. But I think she really just wanted to finish her education. And maybe she was scared because she kind of grew in that she was okay leaving home, but
Hmm.
when he asked her, like, I don't think she would have been comfortable leaving home at that point.
That's what I was going to say too. I think it was a lot to do with how afraid she was to leave her comfort zone,
Hmm.
and not just the fact that he was kind of annoying, because you're not going to love every boss. That's kind of the real world, but definitely more so that she just wasn't ready to leave.
True. Yeah, and I think the things that he wanted to do with the company just didn't seem to fit her goals either.
Hmm.
Um, you know, you can hate a boss but still really love your job. Um, but if both kind of suck, I could see not wanting to take that job. Let's see. Uh, Did you guys have any questions when you were reading the books or watching the series?
Well, I think what we were just talking about, like, kind of your two questions together, I think having her be at home and all of her sisters were at home, I think that's really modern that, our generation stays at home longer than,
Hmm.
even just 10 years ago. And so I think that did a good job of making that modern too, is that's more realistic nowadays that you go to grad school and you still live with your parents and you keep doing school even though you don't have a job or really know what you want to do in life. So you just
Hmm.
keep going to school. I think that was modern.
I think when the series came out, I had either just graduated from grad school or it was like my last year of grad school. I remember feeling all of the same ways that she felt, not wanting to leave home, but wanting to leave home, not really certain what my job prospects were going to be, really scared of how I was going to pay my bills. Um, so one of the other questions is about, what happens to Lydia and, how the sisters sort of reconnect at the end and kind of what the lessons are. So what kind of things do we think that Lizzie learns at the end of the video series that may or may not be the same as the lessons that she learns in the original text of Pride and Prejudice?
Well, I don't think it's something that she learned in Pride and Prejudice, but she definitely learned, especially with Lydia, that she needs to kind of judge less, but then also communicate more. And, the fact that they were mad at each other, and that's why Lizzie didn't really know what was going on with Lydia. So I think she realized that she kind of had to put that aside to be there for her family.
Hmm. Yeah, I think in some ways Lizzie does learn that lesson in Pride and Prejudice because she learns she has to communicate with people in order to protect them. So she always regretted not telling her sisters about Wickham, or at least getting her father more on her side about Wickham. So communication, yay!
I think in
Uh,
this one too, because she reconciled with Charlotte, whereas in the book that didn't really happen. Like they were friends again, but it wasn't the same, and she admitted that it was never going to be the same. But then in this one, she gets over her disappointment in Charlotte's decision, and they go back to where they started. And I think that's a pretty cool thing to do too. Like
yeah,
it always upset me how mad she was about Charlotte getting married. Like it just seemed like such a weird thing to end a friendship over. So I liked this version where they were able to move past it.
right. Yeah, I agree. It was never. I feel like the movies do a really good job because you kind of see them in person, but I feel like Jane Austen really glossed over the reconciliation. Um, and I feel like sometimes when she glosses over things in her writing, she made it seem like that wasn't as important as some of the other things that were happening, especially considering how dialogue heavy her writing was. You would hear that conversation. So yeah, it was cool. Especially, I mean, we're so connected now, Facebook, Twitter, blah blah blah. It was kind of interesting to see the characters making like conscious choices not to follow each other after having fights and things, when that sort of information is so in your face during that time as well. I don't know.
It is a unique thing about being in this modern technology age is, when you don't want to know about someone, you kind of always know what they're doing. It's very hard to really cut them out.
Mm-hmm. One of the questions that was in the book that I find really interesting is, why do you think that these characters have such a hard time communicating face to face? You see them interacting on screen, but are they always talking to each other? Or are they talking to the camera? And there always seems to be, like I said, they're like consciously avoiding talking to people, even though in this information age, that information is like right there in their face, screaming at them. So why is it that they have such a hard time communicating?
Well, I think in the videos it's mostly them reenacting and they're talking about other people, but then they're talking about, well, this is what happened, but then, and this is a problem, but then they don't ever try and fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And is it because they don't want to talk to each other about how to fix it, or?
So I was going to go cheesy. I was going to say it's because of pride, It's hard to humble yourself in front of someone. It's hard to admit, like, hey, I didn't know this before, but I know it now.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, hey, you're hurting my feelings. Like, that's hard to admit, too. It's hard to tell someone, to give them that power that you're hurting me. So I think that's part of the face-to-face problem, is that you're trying to protect yourself. It's a shield, I guess, if you do it more anonymous. Maybe. I don't know, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, I think you see that in the later episodes where, and in the writing, where Lizzie and Darcy toward the end sort of have a lot of awkwardness. Despite knowing so much about each other at that point, they have all these like really awkward interactions. Where it's like, I know about this, but I don't really want to talk about it anymore.
Is that a dog? I just hear something squeaky in the background. Sorry.
This thing
My dog has this toy that like it's like motion activated and it makes this like barking noise.
Gotcha.
And it vibrates and moves. And now she's not happy because I took it from her.
Aw. Mine is like, please keep petting me. And his name is Mr. Darcy, my dog.
Nice.
I'll see if he can make an appearance. Come here, sweetie. Oh my god.
Aw, hello.
He has his own Facebook page.
Like Kitty Bennett has Twitter.
Exactly. He is a Mr. Darcy Beagle. And I tend to put Mr. Darcy quotes with his pictures. So I added the YouTube app to our thing. Can everybody see that? I don't know if that's something you guys have to add to. It should be like a little thing on the left-hand side in that like column, and it has like a red button with a play symbol in the middle.
Yeah, mine has it.
Okay, if you click on that. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Mine's thinking about it, but it's coming.
Okay. So I added a few of the videos. I added the two that you suggested, Brittany. And then I added a couple others that I thought tied, um, well, one that tied really well, and stop it, Darcy, you're fine, um, into the book and sort of showed how the book really is a complement to the videos. Um, and of course, I added episode 60, which is, important. Allison, did you have any videos that you wanted us to take a look at?
I don't remember which ones, so probably not.
Brittany, are you all good to go?
It's still loading, but
Uh,
it's fine.
okay, I'm gonna try and play this, and hopefully it will do something. So, Allison, tell me if it actually works. Is everybody good to go?
Yeah, mine's working.
Take a minute, enjoy the
Okay, I'm gonna pause it. Is everybody good or no or
Mine's not cooperating, but it's okay.
Allison,
I
is
know
yours
what.
cooperating?
Yeah, mine's working.
Okay, then Brittany, we're watching episode 20. If you'd like to watch that, um, well, actually, you suggested it, so why did you pick it to like take a look at?
Because I cracked up so hard when Jane did the Lydia impression. I thought it was the funniest thing basically the whole series. I thought it was a very funny episode.
Let me see if I can find where she does the impression. All right, I'll play that part of it. All right. Well, I actually, when I was watching that, I was thinking a lot about the dynamic between Lydia and Jane. I don't know, Allison, what you thought about that.
Sorry, I didn't know if I was muted or not.
Nope.
um, yeah, I think since Jane's so nice, she kind of puts up more with Lydia when she's being like that, a little enthusiastic, as isn't that what Darcy always said?
Yes.
Energetic, or was it energetic?
Energetic.
Energetic.
Energetic. Yeah. Um, and then one of the ones that I selected, and we don't necessarily have to watch all these, but episode 34 is the one where Bing is asking Lizzie all these questions like, did Jane really like the flowers? And I'm gonna go get her this and blah blah blah. Um, so I don't know, like I thought, when he was asking all those things, I thought, oh gosh, Jane hasn't really been that standoffish. She's been, totally normal and fine. But then when I read the book, I understood, where he would have gotten that perception from. So I don't know. Was there anything you guys thought about the interplay between that video and the few videos following that, and how they explained it in the book? And like why Lizzie might have chosen to keep that from her audience when she shared so many other things.
You mean like the 40, what was it, the 48 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because when you watch the videos, you didn't see that, but then in the book that explained that part. I agree with that. Yeah, because the videos, it didn't really seem like Jane was being shy or off-putting, and I'm not really sure in the book she really seemed like that, except maybe that like 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I didn't even think about that until you just said it, but that does make sense because I remembered him being so nervous that,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't being well received, but I completely forgot that that was because she was kind of withdrawn a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I understand, why Lizzie would have chosen not to put that on her videos. Because it really wasn't her secret to tell. But it seemed like she shared like almost everything, her parents' financial difficulties, um, her little sister's drinking problems, all of these things that were a big issue. It just seems like that was a really interesting line to draw. And even when reading the rest of the book, it didn't seem like she really drew the line anywhere else. Other
I don't know, I
thoughts?
guess we're still kind of old-fashioned, right? Other people's sex lives is normally where we draw the line, We're okay with the paparazzi, but it's really not okay when you invade someone's personal privacy with, nude pictures and stuff. So maybe that was just, a statement about, hey, even in this modern society where all information is up for grabs, we still have that one kind of sacred. We don't put that in the public eye. Sex is for two people. It's not for the world.
Do you think that's why they chose the issue with Lydia and Wickham to be what it ended up being with the sex tape? And that being such a taboo and such an issue in our modern society, kind of similar to, running off with a man in, you know, the Regency era.
When I started watching it, that was the thing I think I was most curious about, how they were going to go about that, because it was like, well, what in this day and age is something that like would ruin your family? And so I like that they did it that way, because they're really, I don't know if there was really many options other than that to go.
Yeah, yeah, especially to have it be between a man and a woman. Like there are plenty of ways to ruin yourself, or gambling debts, or drinking yourself into oblivion, or getting arrested or something, but to have it be so interconnected to George Wickham, I think, was the challenge. All right, Darcy. You're the baby. And then, Brittany, you chose the corporate interview, episode 83, as your other video.
Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting just because watching sort of their dynamic. So it starts off, they're supposed to be professionals, and even then it just immediately digresses into this kind of personal conversation. And I thought that was kind of cool because it's like their dynamic is kind of unavoidable. Like as much as they want to pretend that there's nothing there between them, it pops up. And then at the very end, Darcy does an impression of Fitz, which just once again hilarious.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to see him loosen up there.
Yeah.
Um, and it's so unfortunate that the the Darcy, you have to get down from there, sweetie. Like trying to escape the room. Um, I found it really interesting that, well, you can't see a lot of their Twitter pictures anymore. For some reason, like it didn't get saved very well. They must have been using some sort of service that's like now defunct. But you see a lot of pictures of Lizzie and Darcy in San Francisco. Uh, so that kind of adds to that. They were hanging out in San Francisco and things were going well. And then, of course, I picked the episode 60, Are You Kidding Me? Episode, which I felt like it was a really good title. And I found it so interesting that they chose to use the almost the exact same language from the book. I mean, there were a lot of differences still, but it still felt very stiff and formal, like Pride and Prejudice is. So I don't know, did you guys have any thoughts on sort of translating that particular scene into a more modern audience or modern language?
What part of the story was that?
That's the one where Darcy, expresses his love.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because I do remember that that language was like, okay, this is a lot like the book instead of more like how we would say it today.
Yeah. Would a 20-something or early 30-something gentleman of the modern age express himself in such a way?
Probably not.
I think the other thing I had issues with, like you could when I went back and watched the videos again, I realized that they had dropped subtle hints that he had been trying to like connect with Lizzie more than she seemed to perceive, which I think gets back to the fact that they reiterate in some of the early episodes, these are Lizzie's diaries. This is her perspective. So, I guess that's another question. Do you feel like it stayed true to being just her perspective? What about the episodes where they kind of take the sisters take over her Darcy? It's like nibbling me. What is happening? Or like the episodes where Charlotte or her sisters take over the videos. So, what did you think about that? And she has some reactions to those in the book as well.
So that was something that I both liked and did not like about this version of the story, is that in the original story, it's very easy to overlook how Lizzie herself is being prejudiced, because you hear it and you're like, oh yeah, he's being arrogant and really rude, so I wouldn't like him either. But we're kind of on her side where we don't understand that we're not getting the whole story. And that was it. I guess what I'm going for is it was kind of subtle, her realization that she was being prejudiced and the reader's realization that, oh yeah, Lizzie was being really prejudiced. Whereas in this version, we kind of know right away that Lizzie's the only one seeing certain things certain ways. We get this input from her friends and her sisters that, you're not really getting the whole story here. You're kind of ignoring certain facts. And so that's something, like I said, that I liked and I didn't like, because in the original story, I liked how subtle the transition was, where she discovered it and so did we at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, it's great to be aware, but it robbed me of that moment to really live that realization with her, I guess, is where I was going.
Yeah, I think having that first-person perspective, and it comes across even more in the book, I think, that you're only getting her perspective. Whereas in the original text in Pride and Prejudice, I believe it's third person. Um, so you know that you're getting other perspectives. There are scenes where it takes place inside Netherfield Hall without the presence of Elizabeth Bennet or any of her sisters. So you see interactions between Darcy and Caroline and Charles Bingley and all of that. So. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns?
Well, I was thinking of the character of Caroline. To me, she just was a lot different than in the book. I don't know if that's maybe because you saw her more in the YouTube videos, especially. But the fact that the videos, she befriended Lizzie, but then at the same time, she really was just befriending her to backstab her. And you didn't really see that in the book.
Yeah. She doesn't play as... She plays an active role in changing Bingley and Jane's relationship, but she doesn't have as much interaction with Lizzie in that way. I mean, you know that she's jealous, but she doesn't seem to be manipulating anything on that end. She actually makes an appearance in Emma Approved, which is another series by Pemberley Digital. So, if you're interested and you like the book Emma, it's very good as well. Other thoughts? Was this fun?
Yeah. Aside from technical glitches on my end, I kind of enjoyed this format, you know? It's less pressure to have to be somewhere. I'm in my living room, on my floor.
I'm in my bed.
I wish I had gotten more comfortable. I should have sat on my couch or something.
Next time. I'm in my pajamas. I was like, no need to be fancy. You'll only see my head.
Yeah, I like this idea because I like book clubs. You know, I like reading a book, discussing it, hearing how other people think, maybe telling people what you think, which is great. But then there's always the difficulty of, oh my God, I have to leave the apartment.
Exactly. Well, I'm looking for suggestions for the next book. If anybody has any thoughts or ideas.
Do you want a specific genre or just kind of?
Well, we're really sticking to the young adult novel. That's just the overarching theme. That way we're not stepping on the toes of any of the other book clubs.
Sure, yeah.
I think doesn't Lydia Bennet have a book now too?
Yeah, she does. That would be fun.
I guess you haven't read it then? I think it's still new.
I've read 4 chapters that were previewed. But I need to buy it. I need to buy the next one. So.
I didn't even know about it. I'm so behind the times. But yeah, if that's the next one, then I think that'd be an interesting read.
Cool.
I like her story. Her story is really complex.
The first 4 chapters were kind of amazing. It's very much her voice, and it goes way more in depth. It is first person, so you're really hearing her inner thoughts, which is really interesting. And the audiobook is done by the actress who plays Lydia Bennet. So, if you're interested in that.
She did a really good job. I mean, they all were just amazing actors, but I think she had probably the hardest character, and she just did a great job with it.
She had a big character transformation from just wild child to very, very introspective. That was demanding. That was really good, though. She did good.
Yeah. The woman who plays Jane Bennett is on The Big Bang Theory. She's just been made
Yeah.
a regular.
So I thought I recognized her when she first came on screen, and I'm like, why can't I place this? And then I had to look her up because I could not figure out how I knew her.
That's awesome. I'm not up on that season yet, so I'll have to go back and watch.
I think that's when I realized it. I think it was like last week when she was on. I was like, oh, that's Jane. It's like, then it finally hit me. It's like, oh.
Is she really different, or is she pretty similar?
In Big Bang Theory,
Mm-hmm.
she's not really on the screen that much. I think her character is just supposed to be kind of weird.
Okay.
I don't know. She's not, like, I think we've only seen her once so far this season.
Mm.
She's not really a big character on the show.
Yeah. Cool. Well, if you have other ideas for books, I'm totally up for doing Lydia Bennett next month, so I can get that up probably by the end of the week. And then if you have other book suggestions, if we're going to keep it going once a month, I will need lots of suggestions. So just send them my way.
Cool, can do.
Well, have a good night, everyone.
Good
Check
night.
us out on YouTube later. We'll be stars. All right. Bye.